Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, I'm so thrilled to be here today with you in Mumbai. I see lots of influential women sitting here. Very glad to see and very glad to be part of this event. So today we are going to talk about women in power and decision making. So are you ready here, women? I can't hear anything. Are you ready, women? So today we want to emphasize about bringing women into the workforce. This is critical for countries around the world that seek to modernize their workforces. A country cannot successfully make this transition if it disregards the talent and potential of half its citizens. Do you agree? Myself, Samira from Mauritius, we are a company where we give training to all ages in IT, management, entrepreneurship. We also empower women entrepreneurs, and I work with lots of associations in my country to empower education, to promote education to disabled children. And I am also an international mentor with Sherry Blair Foundation. I have at least 15 years of experience in management and a few years of experience about entrepreneurs. And I must tell you, it's not an easy journey to reach here where I stand now. Being a woman, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a daughter-in-law is a lot of struggle for many of us. So I'll just give a brief introduction of each of my panelists, and then we're going to start with the questions. So we have Priya Telvani. Priya is a founder and managing director of 361 Degrees Design Solution. She is a passionate woman entrepreneur and architect by profession. Worked in Dubai and India professionally. Due to her creative approach, innovative design ideas, go-getter attitude, and leadership qualities, she started commercial interior design and fit-out company in Dubai 8 years back. She has been actively involved in making projects in Doha, Africa, USA, India through her company. Our second panel is Allegro Di Quagnane. She's the media founder and CEO of Orgela, a South African-born entrepreneur. And she is also one of the youngest owners of a 100% Black-owned media company in South Africa. The next one is Roxana Jaffer. She is the CEO, Sovereign Hotels BVI Limited, born in Kenya, education in London, where she became seasoned in professional work and entrepreneurial activities. She has a dynamic experience, an extensive, rich and extensive experience in startups, restructuring business plans, finance, social entrepreneurship, team building, and drive management as a thought leader. She's presently a partner with the United Nations World Food Programme in the drive in achieving a world with zero hunger under its operational frame. And the last, but not the least, last and the shortest, we have among us a British actor, Shobhu Kapoor, born in Mumbai and traveled all over India. She started her acting career after attending drama school in London. Shobhu is also a writer and a poet, headed up her film company Roman Candle Productions from 2013 to 2016, and where the company's first short film, Scarlet, won a screenwriting award. She's now branching out into the world of music, composing lyrics and creating a show which will introduce both her poetry and lyrics to a live audience. So today we have these wonderful women here to talk to you and share their experience. So we're going to start with our first panelist. Let's start with the youngest. I admire women who have influenced change in the technology world from afar. That is why I always say, when one woman helps another, amazing things can happen. Technology remains a male-dominated industry. The world is crying out for more women who can venture in the technology. Question goes for you, Algro. We are the future. Do you agree that? We are the future. Where do you see our women and girls in technology by 2030?
Firstly, I'd like to thank the organizers of this event for acknowledging my achievements and every other woman that's in this venue today and putting this together. And I almost missed coming here. I have a huge event back in Johannesburg, but I told my team it doesn't happen every day that women come together in one room to celebrate one another, to uplift one another. And I said, I'm going for 2 days, in and out, I'll be back. And that's exactly what I did, and I'm very happy to be here in Mumbai. I'm a young entrepreneur from South Africa, and for some of you that don't know, I started my company at the age of 21 while I was about to finish off my journalism degree at the University of Johannesburg. I took a leap of faith as a young woman, and I have never been employed by anybody else to date. Today, I'm 27 years old. I have 18 employees, permanent, and one of the youngest media company owners to come out of South Africa. I made the Forbes 30 under 30 list last year, and thank you. And I always like to share a bit of that journey so that you understand when I am presented as one of the youngest, female overachievers, as many people like to call me. And it is possible. People ask me my age or even younger or older, and they say, well, at 21, how did you know? Why didn't you just take your degree and go look for a job like any other normal person would? And I said I knew I wanted to empower other people. The reason I started my company was not for me. It was a dream, yes, come true for me, but I knew I wanted to take other young women along the journey with me. And that's the people that, I work with, and we hold the fort together, and they've realized the vision together with me, and we've come this far. This year the company turned 7, and we've done amazing work that even I sometimes get overwhelmed. I don't understand, because we found agencies and media companies 2 or 3 decades in, and we're only turning 7 this year, and to be recognized on such a level every other year is really just another testimony to say that women can do it. So to answer your question, Samira, I definitely believe that women are the future. If you empower a woman, you're literally empowering the entire community. It's women that are raising the men. It's women that are inspiring one another. And I know that a lot of women will say, well, some women are selfish with their success. Once they get to the top, they don't want to pull up another woman. But I always, when I give talks, I always say that it's time for women to, kill this. They call it the queen bee syndrome. So once I get there, I'll throw down the ladder. I'm not going to bring anybody up so that I'm the only one that shines. And then we get disappointed and perhaps even angry at men and say that they don't give us the opportunities, when it's the women that, when they get into leadership positions, they don't want to support one another, because immediately it's like, well, I'm jealous of what she's doing, and I see her potential, and I don't want her to reach my level. They can be great, but never greater than you. And I always encourage people, some of my mentees also, and I say, as a mentor, I'm not here to make you turn you into me. I'm here to inspire you and give you that extra push to be the person that you already have the potential to be. But we could do with a lot more of Allegros in the world. We could do with a lot more of yous in the world. Imagine if there were 10 of me at the top. There would be more opportunities for women. If there were 10 other, great entrepreneurs recognized internationally, we would do so much together. but we're getting there, and I'm very privileged to be, one of those young women that are recognized in that field and really are inspired every day by women like yourselves that want to make a difference. When I was landing yesterday and the driver was bringing me here to the hotel, it's my first time in India, I've never been here. And I looked at the contrast just from the airport and the streets, and all I saw was poverty. I saw faces that were hopeless. I saw people that are struggling, that are really trying. I looked out and I began to, count my blessings, because back in South Africa, we like to complain about almost everything. But, most young people in South Africa are entitled. They want the government to do everything. I didn't have funding when I started my company, literally nothing. Of course, I tried with different institutions, but it took forever. But I never used that as an excuse. I literally saved up about 7,000 Rand, and I registered my company. I trademarked the name, and I did what I had to do to start. And once I started making money, I invested back into the business. So when I looked at that, I just thought, if only, other young South Africans could see what happens, the rest of the world. If I could share the pictures and share what's happening and what I learned through this journey, they would not be so self-entitled, and maybe, just realize how blessed we are, and that they're not the only ones in the situation where they feel like, I want to be great, I want to do great things, but I don't have support. Because together, we can help one another. Tell your neighbor what your vision is, and she might know somebody that knows someone that can help you. It's all about sharing that knowledge. And once again, to answer your question, we are definitely the future.
And where do you see our future women and girls in the technology by 2030?
2030, it's funny that you mentioned that year, because back home last year I was announced as one of the ambassadors for the NDP 2030 vision, which is the National Development Plan of South Africa. And it's to encourage young people that by the year 2030, the goals that we have for our country right now, we should have achieved them by then. And that is, for me, one of my biggest goals is to rid young people of unemployment. And which is why I always drive entrepreneurship. Do not wait to have somebody say, hey, there's a job opening. Or don't wait to pick up your resume and go job hunting if you're talented in something that you can turn into a job. I turned my hobby into a business. And the reason why I'm speaking a bit on the topic about technology is because I started my company. Today, it's a media company. We have 9 entities. I'm also in property and organic farming. Those are my non-media businesses. But I started with a blog, and I was 21, and blogging was not a thing in Africa. Everybody was like, what is blogging? What is an app? You're going to write about celebrities. How are you going to make money? But I followed international bloggers in America. I remember reading a story about Perez Hilton, who's a celebrity blogger, and he made 6 figures in a year. And I thought, well, this is where the world is going, the digital space. And if we are in 2018 right now and we have so many, technological developments and opportunities, I definitely see the world going the digital route. And I feel like there are more young women in that industry, but I feel like their voices are not heard enough, because it's one thing to say, well, we want to empower women, and yes, we'll bring it into a male-dominated industry such as technology. And then we're in meetings, perhaps a boardroom, and you're looking for suggestions from the women, and we're creative, but they're not being heard enough. I feel like they're given the opportunity to be in the room, but your voice will still be kept low. And I think it's time for us to gather around and say, we want to, be given the opportunity to share what we have and take up that leadership role, but also to be heard. Speak up a little more. If you feel like you're in an office where you're being undermined, you deserve better, stop complaining about it amongst yourselves at lunch. Stop, complaining at home and sulking. Speak up. Go up to your seniors and make sure that you are heard. It's not enough to just be talking where you're not understood, and over the years pass by, you're at a company 10 years later, you're still unhappy. You know, so 2030, I definitely think that a lot more women in technology will be creating apps. I believe the next Mark Zuckerberg should be a female coming out of Africa. So yeah.
Thank you, Algro. So we move on for the next panelist. We are going to talk about architecture. You will agree with me, Priya, that a good architect is not defined by gender. We have some famous female architects, like Marion Mahoney Griffin from America. We have Kazuyo Sejima from Japan, and the late Zaha Hadid from Baghdad, among others. Do you think these influential women advance gender equality?
Yes, definitely. Zaha Hadid is one of my favorite architects because she have a unique style, and her projects and her designs are so different from the other architects that you can actually see the structure and say, oh, that's designed by Zaha Hadid. So for me, a good designer should have details towards what they're going to design, first of all, and the designs has to speak themselves. So the designers are the designers. You cannot say that it's a male or a female. The only problem what happens is a lot of time we hear that, okay, this designed by this architect, this has done by some architects, they're always male. Because I just want to share a small story. When I was doing architecture, we had a 60% female population in our class and 40% male population. But what happens when we get the degree? I think half of them, or I can say more than half of female population, they opt for something else. Either they don't want to do a job in that field, or they don't want to start up their businesses. I think only 2% female are ambitious, and they want to go for, they want to take the risk and go for a business and start something of their own. So what happens is, in this process, though the female architects or the designers, they must be excellent in their work, but what happens? That they are not continuing their practices. So how you will see more female names in this industry? Likewise, when I finished my architecture, I have suddenly realized that I have no love to design buildings, but I am too much inclined towards the interior spaces. And that's how I diversified into interiors. After India, when I went to Dubai, I always wanted to take the risk because I was gender blind since my childhood. In my family, we were 4 females in the family, like my mother and my 3 beautiful, with me, my 2 beautiful sisters. So 4 females and 1 male. Though my father was a decision maker, but you know, it was always influenced by all the females around. So what happened is there was no difference between a boy and a girl. There was nothing that we can actually differentiate that, okay, I cannot do this, or maybe a boy can do this. And at the end of the day, we have to help our parents to do what we have to. So whatever the work a boy can do, I used to do everything. And I used to love doing that. I used to love taking the risks. And I used to always fight that why a boy can do certain things and why a female cannot do. I mean, why you discriminate all the time. Actually, that helped me a lot when I shifted to Dubai and doing jobs in a different firms. I have again realized the same thing, that the male designers or the male, you can say, people who are working in this industry, they are getting more importance because they are the one who are going on the sites, who are managing the construction, or for the interiors, they are managing the fit-out jobs. But why the females are not there? So that's how I started, you know, realizing the fact that the females are not coming in the front and saying that I want to do this. If it's odd hours, or if I have to do it in the night, I have to do anything, I'm ready for it. But the females are more conscious, they don't want to take that risk, and they're not there. So that's the reason I think I have answered your question, that Designers are definitely not, you can mention that a good designer can be a male or female. It's all about their talent, and the talent has to be seen. If you have a talent within, but if you don't show it to the world will not even come to know that you have a talent. So that is very important.
Can you just give us a brief description? Just give a brief of a daily routine as an architect.
For my Dubai routine, I would say that daily I'm surrounded by men, and I don't mind surrounded by men if they treat me as a woman in their world. So I'm pretty happy with it. But now when I say I'm surrounded by men, what happens is there are different categories in that as well, because there are workers who are working on our sites. They are the different category people. Then we are dealing with a lot of governing authority approvals and a lot of mall managements, building owners to do a certain work there. Because Dubai, the system is completely different. To do a small interior fit out and design, there are a lot of approvals have to be taken. And the third category of men, those are the clients who are the decision makers, and most of the time I have to sit with them, discuss with them. The best part is my partner, my life partner, and my business partner is my husband. So my husband is helping me in this business, and me and Amol, we both are running 361 Degrees Design Solutions, which is our company name. And the gender equality, I can say that it starts from our house, because me and my husband, we work very closely. And anything or everything, we do it together. It's never the time that he will say that, okay, I don't mind doing this, but I don't want to do this. No, he would do it. Like today also, I'm sitting here, but my 2-year-old son, he's taking care of. So he has never said anything negative that, okay, fine, I cannot do this, or I can. You have to do it. In India, I know there is still, you have a certain works which you name it as this has to be done by female and this has to be done by male. But why it is like that? Why it can't be together? If you don't start the gender equality from your house, you have no rights to go and speak out or say that, okay, we support gender equality. How? Today, if my husband has to cook one day, or I have to go for a meeting, or I have to do certain things what he's supposed to do, we are equal. We don't treat separately that, okay, that's your job, you do it. No, we do it together. So actually that helps us a lot, because we are a power team. In Dubai, people actually wait to give the job to us, design and fit out, and we are working with extremely renowned people there. Right now we are working with the Dubai Health and Prevention Authority. We are designing their clinical services. Aster is DM Healthcare. I think Dr. Mopin, Azad Mopin, if you know that. We have designed almost 300 pharmacies for them, and all the master concepts in the healthcare for this group, we design it. And the restaurants, I think there are very famous chains here in India, Suksagar, Elko, Jafar Bai's Delhi Darbar, Indian Summer Rajdhani. We have done all their restaurants back in Dubai, all the design and fit out. The thing is, we both are architects. We have a technical knowledge. We are specialized in interior design and fit out. So we go as a power team, and people are more comfortable. We are trustworthy. We are credible, and it's so easy. It's very easy to do the business, because people see that, okay, the husband, wife together, they are working, they have all the knowledge, and they are not going to run away one day from Dubai for sure. So this actually helps a lot, and this is how, I can actually say that my daily routine, it actually revolves around all these men. It's my task to how to handle them, where to talk what, and in which tone because that's very important, because I cannot talk the same with my client and my workers, because it has to be different. And it's a big task, and it's quite difficult. Maybe it sounds very easy, but it's quite difficult because we have to work odd hours. Like sometimes we have to be on the site full night, and where we come back home 6 o'clock in the morning, or sometimes we have to go for the governing approvals, which are very hard to take out. So it's not a easy thing, I can say, but the daily routine, we are very systematic. We know what is our scope of work daily, inside the house, in the business, and on the work. And if you are systematic, if your focus is very clear, and you know you have to achieve certain goals, so I think it's possible. And if you are very, very passionate about what you do, no matter how much it's hard and what you're facing, but you will do it. At the end of the day, there is a big, big smile on your face. And actually, I want to end saying that every time we say that a successful man, every successful man have a woman behind him. But I would say that for me, as a successful woman, I have my man behind him. That's my husband, Amol. And yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and it's gonna continue. So yeah, that's my, I think, answer for your question.
Thank you, Priya.
Thank you.
Before we go on to the next panelist, I would like to ask the audience, do you have any question for Algro or Priya? No question. Okay, we go on. Our next speaker is Roxana Jaffer. Roxana.
It's on. Perfect.
We all agree that progress in achieving sustainable development goals have been abysmally slow. In the 21st century, we are confronted with economic, environmental, and social crises on a global scale. You have had a range of experiences. Do you think women are the key to sustainable development?
It's a good question. Thank you, Samira. But before I start, I just want to bring it to Allegro. She said at 21, she used the word empowerment, and she thought women empowerment was key to her success. Well, I don't think at 21 I knew the spelling of the word empowerment, really. I learned it much later in life when I came to Dubai. And along the way, I learned a trade. I learned to be an architect. I finished 2 hotels. And I built them up. I built 9 restaurants. All that is great. It was superb to do what I had already knew as an accountant, and something that I had an innate understanding of. But what was important for me was that I needed to empower all my workforce to be sustainable. The word that we used to use before was CSR, corporate social responsibility. Today, it's changed a little bit. The nuances is still the same. Meaning is slightly different, but it's to be sustainable. And what I thought was that I'm in Dubai. I have a workforce of over 300 people. Although this is not the only hotel I look after, I have others in Africa as well. But this was my main forte. And I said that people coming were from about 28 nationalities. They didn't speak English, but they did not understand also how to cope with one another. We had a Sikh person talking to a Muslim, downgrading him, or a Muslim talking to a Filipina the other way because he was Christian, and so forth. And I realized that the only thing that was common between them all was the blood that really pumped in the veins. And I thought, you know what? I need to make sure that I empower them to become one, to think correctly, and only through that will the hotel succeed. And that's how sustainability was born in my hotel, which is 310 rooms with 10 restaurants, with all the staff I had. We not only had a software called Green Engage, we looked after energy saving and what we were sending out to the carbon footprint to reduce that. But we also learned that if we could come together and start thinking of people who are less better off. So we began something called Holiday Inn Loves You campaign. And that campaign till today, as being partners with United Nations, we've reached where we've raised funds to feed 403,000 people in the world. Yes, thank you. And that allowed the people who were working for me from 25 nationalities to say, you know what, it did not matter whether I was raising money to help people in the typhoon in the Philippines or the earthquake in Nepal, or any other calamity, because we were all one world, one people. And that was how we all became one. And with that came service, and of course the hotel became better because they were able to look after the clients as much as they were able to look after each other. We had other bits that were put in, which were like policies on tolerance to other faiths, diversity, zero tolerance for sex harassment, like we heard about that this morning. You know, so we were looking at finding out what was actually comes under sustainability. And there were 3 specific sections, like your pillars that you talked about. And we found that one was not done alone. You had to look after the people as much as you had to look after the environment, as much as you had to look after the planet. And with that, last year our hotel, only a small hotel, got the best CSR Arabia Award out of 13 Arab countries. And that to me is a sense of pride. That's why I feel that we've made others achieve. Now coming to women empowerment, and whether the question you asked was, do women, are they more giving? Do they become more sustainable? And will they be able to look after the future? Well, when I was flying in this yesterday, on the airline, I found a magazine called the CEO Middle East. There's interviews of 14 CEOs of really high-powered men and 2 women, and what they've done and what they're planning to do till 2050, and how they're going to make their company the biggest, the best, etc. Out of that, only 2 people talked about how sustainability was going to be their pathway for the future, which is actually United Nations Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General's lines. He says it's going to be the pathway to the future, sustainability. And that's the reason why we have 17 Sustainability Development Goals. I'm not sure whether everybody knows about them, but United Nations have put them out for all countries, all companies, all SMEs, individuals to be able to participate, take on 1 or 2 of them as your pet subject, and help bring in zero tolerance to health issues, zero tolerance to hunger, things like that. And along the way, in these 14 CEOs, I found only 2 actually saw the light of sustainability as being able to help them. One of them was actually a chicken farmer in Abu Dhabi who's been running for 20 years, and he has made his plant all solar powered. His ROI, return on investment, was not going to be till 2050. That's actually why people don't want to go into sustainability, because it can be expensive. And when he switched on the button for solar power, only 20 people showed up. That tells you how sad the situation is. We talk about a conference like that, and Dr. Bhatia gets a huge amount of people here. But when you have talk about sustainability and we're talking about solar power, only 20 people show up. The other one was a lady. There were 2 ladies who were interviewed. One lady actually said that how she grew her workforce from 3 to 77. And what did she do this with? Tapping it into the potential of females. of women empowerment. She learned the merit of employing women, teaching them a trade, teaching them so that they, because they already have that heart to nurture, heart to nourish, the compassionateness to be able to help others. And it was through that that she actually is taking sustainability to make her company very successful. So just to show, out of 2 women, 50%, 1 out of 2 is going with sustainability, but only 1 out of the other 12, which is less than 8%, is actually looking into sustainability. So talking of that, and for me, I found that sustainability for me was not an expense. It was just a woman at the top trying to gear men along the way to be able to see what I'm doing, why I would like to do it, how it's going to help, and along the way unfold and make it a success, make them feel empowered, people to be empowered, the men to be empowered to give of themselves. And my sustainability report I've got with me. I can share it with any of you who are interested to see. Our line on Holiday in Loves You campaign is, it's not what I have achieved that matters. It is what I have helped others to achieve. That is what the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxana. Shobu. Women in cinema, apart from actress, means also filling behind the scenes roles like directors, cinematographers, writers, and producers. They have been recognized for their work through various festivals and awards. You have won award for your short film Scarlet as well. What are the struggles you have had to face as an actress in the film industry, and how did you overcome them?
Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here. And this is really amazing. I've never been involved in anything like this before, so it's quite the world with
all that what I've written, what I've read about you is just.
Sorry?
You said you're not. What I've written, what I've read about you, so it doesn't mean that you're an actress.
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, the world of HR is, you know, in that sense. And I'm meeting all you amazing women, CEOs, and all kinds of people running. Women, for the first time, I'm realizing coming here, women do seem to be running the world. Yay! Great. So I don't think there's anything left to do. I think we should just go out there, have a drink, and, you know, enjoy ourselves. Kidding. Okay, so with regards to my industry, you mentioned, you know, of course there are women behind the camera as well as in front of it, and these are women we don't see and we don't hear much about because like in many other industries, and hopefully that's all changing a lot now, percentage-wise, I don't know what the exact statistics are, but they're very few. I mean, if you look at the, you know, at the Oscars and all these other award ceremonies, and you see 2% of women or 6% of women in roles such as, you know, directors and stuff. When you look at women on screen, I think it is now, and the whole Me Too campaign was mentioned earlier. I think things are changing, and what's lovely to see is how things are changing across a whole bunch of industries. So I think it feels like it's like a tidal wave is rising, a tsunami for good, not for evil, because when this wave rises and we all reach our full potential and this equality comes amongst all of us, then I think we'll be, because in my industry, we are storytellers. And the stories, if the people who control the stories actually control the world. So that's what's been the case so far. But while you ladies were talking, and please do stop me, one, if I go on too much, two, if I go completely off the mark, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I do that very much, very often. One of my questions was, are we as women, are we trying to fit a paradigm of a world that is a male paradigm? Because we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about women empowerment, we're talking about, you know, women rising on each other's shoulders to get somewhere. That's just a thought. I don't know the answer. But because women, you know, when you talked about employing and training women to run places. It's a much, much better atmosphere that I wonder whether just the habit of division, which we have seen in this country as well from the divide and rule policy of colonialism and stuff, whether getting together and rising and creating is a better way of going about things in general. Anyway, I'll park that with you. Your question was about my struggles. So a little bit of background. I was born in Bombay. Well, I call it Bombay because when I was born here, it was Bombay. Find it hard to say Mumbai, really. Lovely name, but for me, it's Bombay. My dad was in the Navy. We traveled around the country, ended up back in Bombay. I grew up here, went to college, went to university here. I wanted to be an actress from the age of 5 when I went on stage as the spider in Little Miss Muffet. And I knew I was born to act. My teachers had to hold me because I was desperate to get on that stage. And when they released me and I flew on that stage, I scared that Little Miss Muffet away so badly, she ran off crying real tears. And then my teachers had to come and actually drag me off the stage. So it was pretty clear to me that I was born to act. But because of the culture and the time and stuff, I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to go to drama school here. I wanted to go to the National School of Drama. My cousin, who is a great actor, he'd gone there and used to tell me these stories. And I was like, I want to go there, I want to go there. I wasn't allowed to go there because I was a girl and because my father's guru said, oh, this is not a good, acting is not a good profession for girls. So for 10 years, from the age of 17 to 27, I studied. I didn't study for those 10 years, but, I did a BA in English literature. I did an MA in English literature. My father said, oh, if you love acting so much, do it as a hobby. But why don't you do some DPhil or something or PhD, so then you can become a teacher. I don't know. I hope with all my heart that is not something that still happens to girls or indeed to boys. My brother had to study to go to IIT. He didn't want to do engineering, but he had to do it because that's what boys did. Boys did engineering or law or, these kind of things that we've been talking about. Break this stuff down. We don't need this. This is 2018. It's the 21st century. We shouldn't even be having to have these conversations. We should be way beyond having these conversations. Anyway, so then for 10 years, I didn't do anything. Then I went to London, got married, went to London, went to drama school there, and became an actress. And I've been there 30 years, and I've been acting. I've done pretty well, thank you very much. But, who knows? If I'd been allowed to go to the National School of Drama in Delhi, I might have worked in the industry here. Who knows? You never know. When I went to the UK, as a woman, as somebody coming as a grown-up from India, as an Asian, I had a lot of these things that were stacked against me. Have you ever heard the term BAME? It's okay, it's specific to the UK. It basically applies to people from the ethnic minorities who are in the industry. I don't even remember what it means. Black, Asian, I think it's Black, Asian, or minority ethnic. I mean, the word BAME is such an ugly word in itself, but I'm a BAME actor or whatever. Want to get rid of that word. But I made it somehow. I don't know how. If you ask me what were my struggles, I don't know that I struggled in any conscious way. When you're in a situation, you do what you have to do to survive. You just do it. So I did it. I happened to get onto a British soap called EastEnders. Within 5 years of arriving in the UK, I was on that. I was on it for 5 years. It gave me a profile in the country. When I came out of that job, I sank without a trace for 10 years. I didn't get any work. I'd had a child. My relationship had broken up. I was a single parent. Went from the age when my daughter was 2, she's now 20, without a job. I mean, it's crazy, but if you go, what were your struggles? I don't know. I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills every month. I remortgaged my house 3 times, and I would go to mortgage my house, and they were very chirpy at the bank. They'd say, oh, so what are you going to do with this money? Are you going to refurbish your house? Are you going to go on holiday? And I'd say, no, actually, I need the money to pay the mortgage. So I'm remortgaging my house in order to give the money back to you as a mortgage. But I had a child to support. I wasn't getting any help from her dad. So I did it. You do it. As you all know, and all of you know, we do it because we have to. And because we have to, we can. So anyway, cut a long story short, and I survived somehow. And then the last few years, I did a sitcom called Citizen Khan, which I believe has been shown here. And I'm assuming that's why, because I was like, why me? But I was saying I was thinking that, and one of the things I was thinking about just today was, don't ask that question. Don't say, why me? Enjoy it. If you get any success, if you've achieved anything, we must take time to enjoy these successes. And there's a lady sitting in the audience. When I said to her, why me? Who am I? I'm not a leader. Why am I here? And she told me that I was a leader. And thank you. I believe that now. Thank you. I have no idea if I said anything useful, but there you go.
Thank you. Yes, sure, you can.
I just want to add something to what Shabu says. She's being very modest, but she's a very famous actress in London. I don't know whether you've ever watched EastEnders. So that's another word like BAME. EastEnders is where nobody, not the elite go. But there's a long-running serial, and she's acted in that very famous serial. And I think we need to say well done to her for that. Yeah. And talking of England, I come from London. I went to school there. I'm an accountant there. But I'll tell you something similar that happened to me. I used to run a donut company. I bought Dunkin' Donuts, and I was their accountant, and then bought a wholesale chain from them. I used to have problems because I was brown, and I was female, and I wasn't ever called BAME, but I had these issues where I used to have to fight for my rights to get my orders. And because I would go and get contracts with Harrods, a weekend later, I'd find out that the contract has gone to another company because the person who was making the decisions played golf with the supplier, and I did not. So I did not know what to do. I don't play golf? Do I need to show my sexual awareness? I don't know, but I did not neither, and I made sure that that's what was going to take me forward, and I went and won. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, if you have a little fallback, use that to grow and get further, and you will reach further up. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are running out of time. I'll just wrap up everything, say what you've done, what you've said, everything. Just Priya, you want to add something? Just 1 minute, and then I'll just close.
I just want to add one thing, that being a female, don't think that if you're into the business, you need to start looking like a man or behaving like a man. I go on my construction sites, and I still wear my heels, and I'm there for 12 hours. So that doesn't make me, more of a man and less of a woman. So just stick to your femininity and do your best. You can achieve a lot more. And as a woman, I always believe that dream big, work towards it, and it will be a reality soon.
Thank you, Priya. So there are many great initiatives happening now, and hope more women around here will recognize their sense of passion, creativity, and originality through some outstanding female leaders. So a lot of what we've been talking here about is good leadership, talent development that works both for men and women. We should not forget the men's support, who support women entrepreneurs and business owners. So today, to all the men in the audience, I want to be very clear. We need you. Yes, we need you as fathers, as husbands, and as simple human beings. This is your struggle too. Because research suggests that given the current environment, women can face difficult challenges in the workplace, challenges that can make it more difficult to access stretch opportunities, networks, and resources. And for you ladies, think like a queen. A queen is not afraid to fail. Failure is another stepping stone to greatness. Always be passionate of what you do. Passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. And turn your wounds into wisdom. Thank you.